You're listening to the Misfit Therapist podcast with Dr. A, where it's all about talking through some messy psych shit so we can all get better soon. This show is not intended to diagnose or treat mental health disorders, nor is it a substitution for mental health services. Please seek counseling, medication, or crisis intervention services if needed.
Well, hello, Misfits. This is episode 1. I am calling this day 1 because it is the first time that you and I get to meet. So nice to meet you. I'm also calling this day 1 because we are going to be talking about resetting our lives post COVID-19 because it is something we desperately need to do. I am Dr. A, and yeah, I'm a real psychotherapist. What do I want to get across in these podcasts? Well, I want to bring you mental health and mental health related issues, big ideas, and put them into bite-sized pieces that are digestible. I also hope that I say something that rattles your demons enough to make a positive change in your life. So that's the goal for me here, and I hope that you benefit from it. As far as the podcast, I can thank my clients for encouraging me to finally put myself out there, just out in the world. So thank you so much for allowing me to serve you, for allowing me to be me with you, for being on your healing journey, and for ultimately being your human diary. It is the greatest honor. As far as the name for this podcast, because I've gotten a couple of questions, I wish I could take credit for it, but about a decade ago, when I first started practicing, I was called a misfit by a client. I didn't think too much of it and I let it go. But fast forward to a year and a half ago, I was called a misfit again. And I was like, okay, hold on. What does that even mean? And my client said, you're not the typical therapist. You're not sitting there saying, oh, well, how does that make you feel? And I hear you and it sounds like you're angry. Dr. A, you keep it real, and we really appreciate that. So hashtag Misfit. So who am I? I am an LCSW and LPCC in California. I'm also licensed as an LCSW in Colorado. My doctorate is actually in social work, and I am very proud of that. My heart sings and bleeds for this profession. I also want you to know that I'm a psychology dropout. Yeah, totally. I was in a PsyD program for an entire year and I said, fuck it, this isn't for me. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. So I went back to my first love, which is social work. I'm an evidence-based clinician. That means that I love science. I keep up with my field because it's the responsible thing to do. And by the way, evidence-based does not mean boring. I call it how I see it. I say what I mean and I do what I say. And I am definitely not the therapist for everybody. In fact, I tell everyone coming into my practice, hey, I'm going to check in with you at the end of session and I'm going to ask you, did you feel heard, respected, understood, and do you want to come back? Well, I've only been fired a couple times, so I guess that's not too bad. On a personal note, I am a mom to a two-legged 11-year-old wonder, and he knows way too much for his age. You know, sometimes I feel bad about that. The other day he came up to me and he said, Mom, I know too much. And I'm thinking, what do you mean you know too much? And he said, when you were 11, you didn't have to deal with half of the stuff that I have to deal with. Well, what are you talking about? He's like, we have Google. And I thought, okay, enough said. I'm a storyteller, and through this medium, I hope you learn something about yourself and that mental health and all things related super kick ass. You will hear me talk about my experiences as a clinician, a professor. Yeah, scary, I actually taught. A leader, a mentor, a mom, and just human. Here's my promise to you. I will be authentic. I will even share where I have totally fucked things up because there is something about being a hypocrite that drives me nuts. I am the same person on social media that I am on this podcast. As I record these podcasts, I think about my family and my friends and my clients who I have the honor to still see. And the only compliment that I want from them is, hey, Thanks for continuing to just be you. My promise to you on this show, I will try really hard not to create more noise. We are informationally obese. Is that a thing? Yeah. I know what I mean to say. I mean to say we have all of this information at our fingertips. And speaking to my son, who said that, he has Google and I didn't, he's right. You can Google anything. If you Google anything now, you have COVID. Okay, not funny too soon. But you guys, before COVID, y'all were Googling your symptoms and you either had cancer or you were dying of something else. My hope is to connect with you in a really heartfelt and soulful way. And again, not to put more excess noise out there. I hope to put out shows that have big ideas and condense them into bite-sized pieces that are digestible and that are practical and that are not just like, oh, well, that sounded okay, super ethereal. Anyway, so that's me. And now let's get into why I'm calling this day one. You guys, it's time to reset post COVID-19. COVID has brought out the best in some, and you know what? Yay for you all. I'm happy for you. But for many of us, it has caused major stress and a lack of motivation, anxiety, and depression. It has made us question what we're made of. And I often hear my clients say, I am just trying to survive. The first 30 days were kind of awesome. I don't know, question mark. Maybe? Yay, we're on holiday. Yeah, well, it's been like 1,000 days now, and life has completely changed. For many, these changes have brought on extreme worry, being socially isolated, that feeling of, oh my God, do I ever feel alone? It's meant overeating and self-medicating, making Amazon your best friend, and temporary highs. Yeah, you guys that are out there having irresponsible sex, you are in this category. It's also meant job loss, the closing of businesses that people have poured their lives into, and feelings of hopelessness. It has also meant that some have had really dangerous thoughts. I want to hurt myself. I don't want to be here anymore. And if this is you, please, I encourage you to get some help. Because I promise you that this is temporary and that feeling will go away, but you need to process it with someone and get some support. Understand that you are worthy and that the gifts that you have to give, no one else can give to this world. So please get some help. It has meant misunderstandings, the exchange of harsh words, decompensation, the severing of meaningful relationships, and death. Oh my God, that all sounded so depressing. Well, yeah, because it kind of is. So now what? What in the hell am I supposed to do with all of this? I'll tell you. There's no easy way to go about this, but we have to reset our lives, choose joy, and work toward happiness. What do you mean, work toward happiness? I actually get that question a lot from clients, and they all kind of say the same thing. Happiness should just come, right? It should be easy. Yeah, I don't know who fed you that bullshit, because happiness is hard. We have to choose to put healthy habits in place on a consistent basis in order to be happy. That means being mindful of how we spend our time, who we give our energy to, and planning out our lives for success. Conversely, bad habits equal that sad emoji. You guys know the one with the big, round, sad eyes trying to hold back tears? I don't know about you, but that little guy really breaks my heart. So how do we reset? Hurry, get a piece of paper or pen or lipstick to write on your body, or play back the podcast from here. I want you to look at your life domains. If you look at the literature, textbooks, or you Google this, you will see life domains displayed differently for the sake of brevity and for the sake of this podcast. And again, making things bite-sized, we are going to split them up a little bit differently. So I want you to write 1 through 6 on a piece of paper right now. And at the top of that paper, just write life domains. So, life domain number 1, physical and mental health. Life domain number 2, family. Number 3, spirituality slash values. Number 4, relationships. Number 5, money. And finally, number 6, work. So, going back to domain number 1, how are you feeling physically? Do you feel energetic? Do you feel like you're getting enough sleep? Do you feel healthy? Do you look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm really happy with what I'm looking at right now? When it comes to mental health, are you annoyed? Are you irritable? Are you grumpy? Are you happy? What are you? Check in with yourself. With regard to family, are you being fully present? Have you been kind to your family? Have you been extending grace? If you have children, do you take a step back and say, oh my God, this is so hard for them? I know that I'm yelling and I'm nagging because we're doing this whole homeschool thing, but have you stopped to really look at the situation and say, oh, my kid is just trying their best. And moms and dads, we're just trying our best. Number 3, spirituality and values. So for my believers, when was the last time that you connected with God? When was the last time that you opened up scripture, your devotionals? When was the last time that you prayed? For those that are a little more on the eclectic side of spirituality, when was the last time that you connected to your source, that you meditated? And for my non-believers, my agnostics, my atheists, and somewhere in between, your values. Have you checked in to make sure that you are being honest and transparent and living your own mission and vision? Number 4, relationships. What do your relationships look like right now? Are you having superficial conversations, or are you having, I call them HQs, right? High quality conversations. Are you talking about dreams and the future, or are you talking about other people? Are you talking at all? Communication, especially right now when we're all feeling so isolated, is important. But the other piece of communication, we can't just have two people talking at each other. You must be talking to each other. And expanding on that, it's not just about communication, it's also about extending understanding. Number 5, money. How are you doing with money? I know things are so tough for so many people right now. Have you reached out to creditors to possibly get some help with paying bills? Have you decided to pause your mortgage? What have you done strategically to try to be okay with money? And for those who have not been impacted in this area, are you living in fear? Are you being so frugal with money right now that you're not even living? Take a look at that. Work. This is a big one for people because so many have been laid off, and those that haven't are questioning now their profession. Am I in the right job? Am I in the right career? Should I go back to school? Should I learn a new skill set? These are all questions that you should be asking of yourselves in these life domains. Now, I actually want you to rank each of these domains from 1 to 10. 1 being I suck, and 10 being I totally kick ass. Where are you on these? Now, it's pretty normal to actually get similar scores on life domains, but I need you to pick one that is the most acute problem. Some people say, Dr. A, but I want to work on a bunch of different life domains. Yeah, that's a great idea in theory, but the thing about it is when you don't see progress being made in multiple life domains, you start to get discouraged. We are not in a space to get discouraged right now. So what I'd like you to do is pick one life domain that you are going to be working on. I want you to ask yourself with regard to that domain, what do I want more of and what do I want less of? Drill down. So let's say you're looking at your physical health domain. It's not enough to say, I want better health. Well, no shit. We all want better health. But how? Be specific, commit to a time frame, hold yourself accountable, and who will be your accountability buddy if you need one? It is time to shift our perspective on where we are because COVID is still here and it's not going anywhere. But this is what I can tell you: we are better than what it has taken away from us. In wrapping this up today, here is my ask. I need you to do a lot of the F word. Not that F word. Focus. Focus on yourself. Do something that makes you come alive today and every day. I don't care what that is. For me, I'm going to celebrate just recording today's podcast with my family. I'm celebrating putting myself out there, out here, wherever we are. It is hard to record a podcast, especially when you don't have a co-host. There's a lot of energy and nerves and even self-doubt going into this. So I'm going to celebrate me. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that something I said today resonated with you. Feel free to connect with me and let me know what my next show should be about. Find me at themisfittherapist.com and on Facebook and Instagram. Till next time.
Thank you for listening to the Misfit Therapist podcast. Show some love by sharing this message and simply by living each day like a badass.